Hello, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment below if you're so motivated to do so. This is Wonders of a Black Woman. Today, ladies, we're going to have a serious conversation regarding sexuality, so if it makes you uncomfortable, you may want to exit stage left.
Bye!
We're going to talk about a lady who died of HIV. Now, HIV is treatable in modern times. There are therapies. There are no cures, but there are therapies through outside contracted HIV. He neglected to tell her, and she ended up dying. Also, we're going to just touch base on some of those men who are ashamed of revealing their sexuality, whether they're bisexual or they are gay, and they choose to marry women and settle down and have girlfriends or settle down and have a wife, but not disclose to her their identity or their preferences. And we'll also discuss women who accept that they are the beards for these down low men, or accept that they are bisexual and marry them anyway. So we're going to be discussing that today. All right, so let's start this.
Life these days
She's supposed to be here right now.
looks a lot like reminiscing for sisters Tammy Hammonds and Karen Young.
I like that one too.
In 2017, doctors first diagnosed their mom, Denise Brody, with breast cancer. She went into remission, but 2 years later, the cancer came back, this time attacking her lungs.
The decline was so rapid.
Are you comfortable?
After years of on and off hospital extended stays and chemotherapy, the cancer had cleared. But Denise somehow was still sick. The family had new doctors run new tests again for everything. Karen recalls doctors determining her 65-year-old mom was dying, but not from a malignant mass.
Then they end up calling us, telling us that she's not going to beat this. You need to take her off the ventilator, and she's not going to make it because she has HIV, she has AIDS.
Denise died April 2nd, 2022, and based off her blood work,
She was in full-blown AIDS after having untreated, undiagnosed HIV for at least 5 years.
the person who gave it to her was not unknown. Criminal records allege it was her husband, Cleveland Brody.
Mr. Brody, you are charged at this time with the sole count of reckless conduct, HIV infected person. It is a felony charge. Would you like the court to read your warrant aloud?
The warrants read, this was no accident, instead intentional. Detectives claim medical files reveal Brody knew of his status since 2006. The charging documents cite Brody did endanger by consciously disregarding a substantial and unjustifiable risk that his act or omission of not telling his wife his status resulted in her death.
How long have you lived in Conyers?
10 years.
Inside the courtroom on July 11th, Denise's entire family anxiously watched the bond hearing.
I am going to deny bond, finding you at risk of flight.
Outside the courtroom, they breathe a somber sigh of relief. For
Now, one of the reasons why I believe that sometimes when people find out that they have contracted a STI, such as HIV, they don't want to reveal it because they are either ashamed, embarrassed, angry. They don't want to disappoint their wife or girlfriend. There's a lot of things that go through a person's mind, and sometimes they don't want to accept it themselves. So yeah, there's a lot of things that go through a person's mind. None of it is right. None of it is an excuse to hide your uh, status or hide something like this from your partner. And even gynecologists will tell women to use a condom even with their husbands nowadays because want to put your faith in the fact that he's being faithful, but you never know, darling. You never know. And you should definitely make it your business to get tested on a regular basis, have your GYN exams on a regular basis, your breast exams on a regular basis. You should be self-examining your breasts once a month. But you just want to make sure you are getting tested. Like I said, this particular case, HIV is treatable. Um, you have these diseases that are, but you should at least know that you have it so you can begin the treatment. And I will leave a link to this video below so you can watch the rest of this video.
They breathe a somber sigh of relief for a case that only came after the family's investigation led to Rockdale County Sheriff's Office doing its own.
I do not think my mother was the first.
As the hearing wrapped for one charge, prosecutors filed another. New warrants detail a second victim just accused the 61-year-old of not disclosing his status and having unprotected sex with her. What's more, the sheriff's office says investigators have reason to believe there were other victims. If Brody were convicted of felony reckless conduct HIV-infected person, he would only face up to 5 years. It used to be up to 10 years, but advocacy groups like Georgia Equality fought to change the law last year with SB 164 to decriminalize and destigmatize HIV status. But the group argues this new law wasn't intended for cases like Brody's, who police say knew his status and had criminal intent.
So the particular instance in
That's
which
the problem when you have these people who call themselves trying to help with the criminal justice system and they advocate for things that it could have unintended consequences. So, they advocated for a lighter sentence and this person is going to get a lighter sentence, but the women that he infected, they are affected for the rest of their lives. In fact, one that we know of have died. Another thing I want to say to you ladies out here, don't let the older age fool you. Don't let the older age fool you, because there are guys out here who are older that's sleeping around, that is contracting things. A lot of them that are sleeping around, a lot of them don't want to use condoms, and they are contracting things and they are spreading it. So you can't think that, oh, that's just young men that are out there getting STIs. Yes, it's older people that are sexually active as well. So don't let the older age fool you, honey. It's one thing not knowing, but it's another thing when you're knowing. And I just want to take a trip down memory lane with this man here, Andrew Gilliam, who was running for governor of Florida. He was the mayor of Tallahassee, Florida. Then he went to run for the governor of Florida against Ron DeSantis. And he had lost by a small margin. And according to him, he spiraled into a depression, which ended up leading to him into being caught, passed out in the hotel, that infamous scene where he was caught with the gay male prostitute who was overdosing, and these pictures surfaced that of Andrew, in vomit, and the room, drugs in there, and feces and all this stuff on the sheets and all this stuff around. So, this is his wife here. Now, according to her, she knew before they got married that he was bisexual. Now, women who's willing to accept their man in a marriage being bisexual, and relationships are what people want it to be, but in a traditional marriage, there's that expectation of faithfulness. So I guess in a bisexual marriage, are you expecting that person to still be faithful to you? Um, Anyone who has a comment about this, please leave it below to help people have a better understanding if you wish to share. But say this lady, for example, is married to a bisexual man. Is she expecting him to not be with any other woman, but it's okay for him to be with another man? Is that why also GYNs are telling women to use a condom with your husband? Because in situations like this, um, and even if your partner, whether it's the male or the female in the marriage, for example, is bi, um, is there that expectation that no matter what, they're supposed to be faithful? So those are issues that the couple would definitely need to work out. But here's what she had to say about everything after Andrew had got caught.
I wanted to talk to you, and I think why you wanted to talk was this notion of, again, people saying, here's another one. Here's another woman who is making excuses. I know your background. You work in nonprofit. You come from a wonderful, established family. You're a smart one. You're a strong person. And you know what they'll say. She's naive. She's been covering for him. He's crying right now. He's right over there. Are you taking the heat for him?
No. I think one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you, and I say to you, is because we never planned to talk. I was adamantly opposed.
Just to recap what you know what was going on with this particular couple. They were presenting themselves one way, but behind the scenes, it was another. Now, normally, that's none of your business whether what their sexuality is and what a marital agreement they have with each other. But when you're presenting yourself as a public figure that can run for a public office and actually win public office and make public policy, you are opening yourself up for different things that could affect the public. So I just want to recap. I know that they're all polished, and as most politicians are, they're going to come on the show and they're going to speak metered and measured and pretend as though certain things are certain ways. But her man was in a hotel room with baggies of crystal meth, empty Corona bottles, soiled bedding. These are the sordid images of the raucous hotel party that sent Florida Dem Andrew Gillum to rehab and left male escort hospitalized. So this is the person that imagine if he had won governor and this stuff would have come out. So see the bags of crystal meth there. You see a bunch of drugs, both prescription and illegal, found inside the $220 a night hotel room, including 3 bags of what police believe was crystal. So this person had a blood pressure machine. This male prostitute is a nurse also. Okay. I guess he wasn't getting paid that much, but these politicians, they can afford I guess the more educated, skilled prostitutes. and he wanted to party and have sex and drug. So he had someone who can provide him with those things and happened to be a nurse also. There are models, doctors, all kinds of people who are in the high class prostitution business. This is a picture of a picture of him on his male porn site. And the reference to the peanut butter and chocolate, that's supposed to be a homosexual reference, that he was referencing the peanut butter and the chocolate for the anal sex. Now, this man was also caught in a hotel room with a small bottle of injectable medicine, which is typically used to treat erectile dysfunction and should never be mixed with alcohol. Pictured right is a toiletry bag inside the hotel room with prescription pills. So he's paying for this guy to come there and provide him with all kinds of medical services, prostitution services, and different things like that. You know, it is what it is. If he was not a public figure in the political space, it is between the couple what you decide you want to do in your marriage. But I just wanted to give those who didn't know the context of why this couple is even being interviewed on Tamron Hall. Back to the interview.
To talking because I feel like this day and age, anyone who is a public figure, people feel entitled to every single part of them. And it can destroy you when you're standing.
Well, I'm going to have to stop her right there, because if you're just a singer or an actress or something like that, that's one thing. But if you're a politician that is running for a political office and you're hiding something like this, you stand the chance of being blackmailed. And we're going to get into Obama and Michelle a little bit later in this video, because they're another political couple where some things have recently come out, and we'll go over that later. But, you're opening yourself up for potential blackmail because you don't want the public to know your quote unquote business. You don't want them to know that you are what your sexuality is, so you hide it. But then you're not being celibate. You're running out and fulfilling those needs. And in this case with her husband, someone decided to snap some pictures and reveal it to the world.
And it can destroy you when you're standing on the stage and there's so much adoration for you and, oh my God, I can't wait till you're the future first lady. That feels good for somebody to say that about me. And I can't wait to see all the things you're gonna do for Florida. And then to see the things they say when things are bad. So.
Well, she has to understand that, they presented themselves one way. They presented themselves as husband and wife, and people assume that they are faithful to one another, and they have, I think, 3 children. So they came across as this osh gosh bagosh family couple. And, there are people who bought into that and supported them because they thought that they were getting that. Again, if you're gonna be a public figure, we're not talking about if they are entertainers. We're talking about political figures that actually is going to be in control of making law and public policy. You don't want to be hiding something that someone can use to blackmail you with. And again, Andrew knew this person before. So, why all of a sudden this time did they want to blow up his spot and take pictures of him and reveal him in this state? But see what else she has to say about this whole subject.
Bad.
Wait a minute.
So, can't wait to see all the things you're going to do for Florida. And then to see the things they say when things are bad. So we don't play to that audience. And I think that if we did, we couldn't anymore because we'd never survive it. So for me, it has always been the protection of the intimacy that's between us, the intimacy that is our family and our children. As much as we expose them and share photos, we're still very private with certain things.
Is that why you did not want him to reveal that he told you long before your marriage that he was bisexual?
Not even that he told me, just for him to have to say it. I don't think it's anyone's business.
What?
See, that's where you're wrong,
What?
baby cakes.
What?
You can't run for a political public office and be hiding stuff like that. It is the public's business. Because the public needs to know who these public figures are close to. And if he is the governor and he's close to male prostitutes, and then he's presenting in public with his wife and children, you can't sit there in your arrogance and smugness and say it's no one's business, because it is. It is. It is. What if he became the governor and then one of these gay male prostitutes decided that they wanted to blackmail him for a political position, or one of them cushy positions in the administration, that you can get appointed to, where you could make a good salary or something like that, or they have something that they can blackmail him with. So she can't say it's no one's business. Not if you're going to be a political public figure.
Even that he told me, just for him to have to say it. I don't think it's anyone's business. I don't think it's fair to people who are not.
And I happen to question whether he told her that before they got married. Because these politicians' wives lie. They want the status and the money that come from these political positions, so they will lie and they will smile and they will cover up. They're very ambitious women. A lot of them are very ambitious women. So it would not look right if she's just now finding out that he enjoys the pleasures of males after this thing came out. So it would make sense that they would say to the public that she already knew.
For your marriage, that he was bisexual?
Not even that he told me, just for him to have to say it. I don't think it's anyone's business. I don't think it's fair to people who are not heterosexual or not assumed heterosexual that they should ever have to say or disclose what they are, because of how judgmental people are. I also know, and I think he mentioned
And
it.
boom, there it is. That's why they didn't disclose it. That's why they didn't disclose it. They did not want the public to know that he was that way. That's if she knew before this hotel incident. And my thing is, it's better to be rejected for who you are than accepted for who you are not.
Or disclose what they are, because of how judgmental people are. I also know, and I think he mentioned it to you, that so many people just don't understand bisexuality. They think they can wrap their heads around gay, but bisexuality is just something different.
How were you able to understand it when he presented it to you and then ultimately proposed and said, but you're the one, I think he said he told you, I choose you?
Right. I just believe that love and sexuality exist on a spectrum. All I care about is what's between us and what agreement do we make to be in relationship with each other. Those people who
But I wonder, was her agreement that he would be slipping out with gay male prostitutes? Like, is that okay with her? I mean, if it is, it is. But
love us, who care about us, who wish us well no matter what did happen, that is the energy we receive. That's what we get all of our energy from.
I watched an interview where you talked about God's plan. After all of this, after the words of shame directed at you, Andrew, and the questions that your children will ask when they're a little older, hopefully a lot older, we're not supposed to question God's plan. But have you questioned God's plan?
All the time.
and I just want to talk also, since we're on the political couple thing right now, with all of the stories that are coming out now about former President Barack Obama, these letters that were written to his ex-girlfriends, ones that he had, of course, before he married Michelle. And he was supposed to have been saying how he, quote, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination. Um, of course, time went on, and there are men who allege that they were with him. I think that a lot of that was squashed around when he was running for president. People were trying to come out with stories, and it was squashed. But years later, now that he's left office, things are coming out. And again, would he have become the president if he were open about and I'm not saying he is or isn't. I can't label what he is or isn't. Only he can do that himself. I just know that these letters are out now. Okay, so I don't know if he's. I don't know what his sexuality is. Okay, so this is from the New York Times. Of course, I'm going to leave a link to all of these sources in the description box below. Former President Barack Obama wrote of his own androgynous mind and making love to men daily, but in the imagination, according to the redacted portion of a now notorious 1982 letter obtained by the Post. The more than 40-year-old letter to an ex-girlfriend recently resurfaced after Obama biographer David Garrow gave a long and winding interview on the one-time commander-in-chief. So this guy is doing a book, and he went digging around on some things with Barack, and these letters were out, but there were parts of the letters that were purposely covered up, and now those parts of the letters are uncovered. So in regard to homosexuality, I must say that I believe this is an attempt to remove oneself from the present, a refusal perhaps to perpetuate the endless farce of earthly life. You see, I make love to men daily, but in the imagination, Obama wrote. Then 21 years old, he had wrote this to Alex McNear in November of 1982. Now, we all know he's married to Michelle. Okay? And again, the same thing I would say about Andrew Gillum would be the same thing I would say about Barack and Michelle. When you're hiding certain things, and again, I'm not saying he's gay or bi or pan or whatever, but when you're hiding certain things and you're in political positions, and let me know in the comments, do you think they have the right to hide who they're involved with sexually or their sexuality if they're going to be in public office? Because if you are presenting with a wife and you're presenting like you're heterosexual and this is your wife or this is your husband, and people are assuming that that's who you're with, but you got these pieces on the side, you know, that could open you up for blackmail. So I'm all for privacy. And I'm all for people. I remember I was working at this hospital, and, I became, how you're friends with some people at work where you're chummy and you get to talking with them because you're seeing them pretty much every day. And this guy, he kept talking about his wife this, his wife that. And one day he just told me, he said, look, it's not my wife, it's my husband. He said, I just said wife because I didn't want to have to explain to everybody. And I said, that's okay. He really didn't have to say anything at all because I'm heterosexual. I'm not running around, hey, everybody, I'm heterosexual. I'm heterosexual. So you don't have to disclose what you are, or period. But when you're in public office, it's important, I think, to disclose certain things because of the fact that you are in a position where somebody could try to get something on you and blackmail you. Okay? So that's what's going on with a little Rocky Obama. Okay? That he was fantasizing about chopping some cheeks. All right? Now, we all know that Wayne Brady, who is an entertainer, he obviously is not affecting any public policy in any political position. Now, he could have come out if he wanted to do too, or he could have just kept things private. It's really not the public's business, but he decided that he wanted to come out. Wayne Brady comes out as pansexual, what to know about the LGBTQ label. So Wayne Brady opened up about his sexuality, saying he can be attracted to all people, regardless of their sexual identity. And in the days and times that we're living in, we encourage people to be themselves and to not hide who they are. Not that they have to run around with a billboard, but we, in the dating pool, would expect, and if you're married, of course, before you even get married, you should know, and your fiance should definitely let you know what's going on. But sometimes things can evolve. People can evolve during the marriage and start having certain feelings. And I would just encourage people to be honest with each other. Hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. Because when it comes to an intimate partner, such as a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, though, that's one of the most intimate, close relationships you will ever have with a person. And they have to be comfortable with you being able to allow them that space to be able to say what they're thinking and feeling. Because when you don't, they're going to hide it. They may try to fight the feelings. They may try to fight the feelings. Or they may try to fight it and then give in to the feelings. And the next thing you know, you're caught in a situation where they're hiding sexual activity outside of just you and them, and you are being subjected to possible anything that could come from that. So it's very important for people to be honest with who they are, especially to those who should know who they are. It's one thing if you want to come out to the public, but the people who should know what's going on with you should have the respect of you telling them what's going on with you. Okay, I just want to, and the reason why I'm bringing up these STIs, just in case people are, why is she bringing about AIDS and HIV? The bottom line is we have to protect ourselves as women out here. You can be as idealistic as you want. You can um, be as hopeful as you want, but people are not honest about their sexuality. There are two reasons why I'm doing this video and this talk. Number one, get tested. There are treatments available. Number two, protect yourself. And number three, present yourself for who you are. Either a person accepts it or they rejects it. And that's just as simple as that. And, I think that a lot of relationships are just built on illusions, and that's why so many of them fall apart. As you saw in the video, there are women who's willing to accept certain things. Just be honest with them, be real with them. They're willing to accept it. And there are some women who would respectfully decline. And we all know what happened with Bruce Jenner, after all of those years and marriages later. He decided later in life that he wanted to transition from male to female. And, a lot of times people will celebrate these people coming out. But while you're celebrating these people coming out for their their true selves, you have to realize that there's somebody whose heart is breaking. And that's the woman that was deceived into thinking that they were something that they were not. So it's important that people just be themselves. Be yourself. I'd rather someone reject me for being me than to accept me for being somebody that I'm not. So I just want to wrap up with this story here from WebMD. HIV and AIDS among Black Americans, of course, we'll leave the link below to these sources. HIV has more negative effects for Black Americans than for other racial and ethnic groups in the United States. Though Black people make up just 12% of the U.S. population, they accounted for 43% of all HIV cases in 2019. Black women in particular were 14 times more likely to be diagnosed with HIV than white women and 5 times more likely than Hispanic women, according to a 2018 CDC report. And those statistics, as time went on, hasn't really changed. And Black Americans who get HIV are more likely to die from it than members of other groups. Why are the numbers so high? It seems like every disease, we're always the most to die from it, the most to get it, the most to this, the most to that. We really have to work on making sure we have access to adequate health care in this country. We really do. Access to and preventative care. Access to education and health care. Part of the problem is that many Black Americans lack access to kinds of education, testing, support, and health care options that others have. The result is that they're less likely to know their status. And even if they know they are positive, they're less likely to be getting the antiretroviral therapy that is the top standard treatment. Sometimes they get diagnosed. It's not just with this disease. Sometimes people get diagnosed with diseases and they don't have the health care to follow up, so the disease ends up getting worse. Diabetes, cancer. I knew this woman who was told she had cancer, didn't have the health care to get the hysterectomy, so she was trying to work to save up the money or something like that. It's just horrible, our healthcare system in this country. It really is it's just really sad. ART not only helps keep people with HIV healthy, but it also can bring viral loads low enough so that they can't be. The reasons for these disparities in access are many and complex. While race certainly plays a part, scientists are still trying to disentangle other factors like resources, education, and cultural norms and perceptions. Race has nothing to do with whether you're going to get AIDS. It's the fact that they don't have the resources, the education, the this, that. I mean, the healthcare. It's not because of race. Anyway, and of course, it may be impossible to separate race from these social, economical, cultural, and behavioral factors because of a history of bias and prejudice in the medical system and the society at large. It seems like it's bias and prejudice in everything when it comes to Black people. From the healthcare system to the school system to the criminal justice system to the financial banking institution system to this system, that, the fish fry system, every chicken wing system, every system out here is some sort of bias or prejudice against us. Consider something as simple as insurance. As a group, Black Americans are more likely to be uninsured or publicly insured than white. So publicly insured is the Medicare and the Medicaids. And a lot of times the Medicare and Medicaid, they don't want to do anything for you. You could drop dead as far as they're concerned. So this often makes it harder to find options for HIV testing. There are a lot of free places that you can get tested and treatments as well as support services to help live with HIV or AIDS and related illnesses. Please look in your local, I'll leave a link to this article below. Please look in your local area to free clinics so you can get tested. You can get tested in treatments because you've got to, for medical care, transportation, childcare, and other important needs. This can have a profound effect on health outcomes for HIV. And it's not just HIV. How many of you guys heard the boom of syphilis in Texas lately? That has been rocking off the hook. So please, ladies, take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Get tested. If it turns out that you have, then for you to have the luxury of not knowing. A lot of people didn't want to. I get tested for all the time for different things. And at first, I would be scared when I would get a HIV test because I was so scared. What if it came out, even though, what if you can't say it was behavior. So, but you're just nervous because you don't want it to be positive, of course. But, a lot of people are just nervous. They would rather not know, but it's important for you to know. It's important for you to know if you have something. So if you have been neglecting making an appointment to go and get tested, do so now. Go on and get tested for everything. Even some cancer is caught early. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. Be good to yourself and each other. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Wonders of a Black Woman, for Black women, by Black women. Empowerment to control our narratives, having important conversations, and celebrating our history makers. Wonders of a Black Woman. Join us. Subscribe. This is Wonders.